Welcome to Anything Cricket. Let's talk. I'm Philip Hackett. Ayana Holden will be keeping my company today, and we're going to be chatting with our very special guest, broadcaster Alex Jordan. We'll also be hearing from Nkrumah Bonner and maybe getting some insight into a couple of things behind that second innings match saving century by Bonner in the first test match. He was promoted to number 3 in the West Indies batting order, but he's going to open the show for us here after we come back on Anything Cricket. Let's talk.
Whatever the challenge that you face, you'll need effective insurance solutions. Look no further than IGS Insurance Brokers. We specialize in commercial, auto insurance, life, individual and group health, as well as pension packages.
Our aim at IGS is to offer the best possible service to our clients and at the same time to be a credit to the insurance industry in Barbados.
Call us at 242-7642. IGS Insurance Brokers. You can stay safe with us.
Obviously, you are delighted with this knock maiden test 100, but I get to understand that you got a little help from a former coach. Care to share that?
Former coach.
Yes.
I think within my circle, there is, a lot of people who, offer a lot of advice. But obviously, there was a lot of coach within this team as well, from players, coaches, and everyone, who supported me.
Right. And I mean, some of that advice actually helped, I would imagine. I mean, how did you take it?
Well, obviously, even Darren Bravo, even he didn't play, he gave me, a lot of advice, me and the batting coach, had a lot of conversation, during innings, and that really helped me to go out there, and to put down my head and bat it well.
Right. And obviously, your scores are improving with each test match you play. I mean, you think you have found the formula now to score runs at this level?
No, it's early days, it's only 3 games, I haven't, explored all conditions as yet, but, I'm going in the right direction. I'm really grateful and humble about that.
All right. Thank you very much, man. And all the best.
Thanks.
You waited a really, really long time. I remember covering you on the first class circuit for a number of years. You waited a really, really long time for this opportunity.
Right.
Building up to this, what's your mentality and stuff like now at the international level, having toiled for such a long time in regional 4-day cricket?
Well, obviously, I made my T20 debut in 2011, so that's 10 years apart, where I play a lot of first class cricket for Jamaica Leewards and CCC, all over the place. Basically, I learned some valuable lessons during those times, and now I'm applying my experiences now, and it's paying off so far.
Yeah, just to build on what Lennox was saying, you looked a little bit frustrated after your first innings performance because you were really trying to build on that successful Bangladesh tour that you had, and you contacted Toby Radford, because you were desperate to get some runs under your belt. Reaching out to him, what caused you to reach out to him and to really try to fix whatever was happening with your batting?
I mean, me and Toby go back from the HPC. We just had a friendly conversation. Nothing, too much. It was just a friendly conversation. That was basically, me and Monty were tirelessly in the nets. So, as I said before, it was just a friendly conversation.
Well, congratulations again on your first test 100, and hopefully, hoping that you have a lot more to celebrate in the coming years.
Thank you.
We've seen this on a couple of occasions with West Indies players where they start off well in their international career and then they fall off. How do you guard against that? Has that been at the back of your mind that you have to now maintain this because there's a lot of expectation on you?
I think I can only manage myself and how I view things. The expectation is from the public. For me, it's all about managing myself each and every day I go there, putting my best foot forward, preparing well, and try to execute as best as possible each and every time.
And another one, if my dear had after the first innings where you got out, what would you have said to yourself? Especially given at that point we really wanted a partnership there and a lot of persons were looking for you to kick on. What was the thought process after that coming out in the second innings?
Well, I thought in the first innings, I struggled a bit, early up. In the first innings, my feet were moving as fluent as normal. Obviously, I got through that and I played a poor shot in the first innings and I felt that, I let down myself, my friends, family, teammates, and everyone who supported me in the West Indies. And obviously, I went to the net with the batting coach, we did a few changes, and obviously, in the second innings, it was important. I know it was important for me to bat through the innings. Obviously I didn't want to lose the game, and that gave me the motivation to just go out there and bat it like I did.
Thanks, Nkrumah.
Thanks, Ronaldo.
Bonner, I will now just ask you a question from Brandon Paulette that he's placed in the chat. He said, you've toiled away in regional cricket and today you are already an important member of the test side. What advice will you give to other regional batsmen that are yet to play for the West Indies?
I would say nothing beats hard work for sure. Obviously, you have to work on your game as much as possible, work on your fitness as much as possible, believe in the process, and just try to put your best foot forward each and every day, try to improve no matter how small it is, and as I said before, just work hard.
Right, Nkrumah, just one more real quickly. I'm looking ahead to the second test actually, and obviously we need to win this one to win the series. Do you believe our bowling unit is capable of getting 20 wickets? I mean, have we worked out what we need to do to get this Sri Lanka team out to win this test match, the next test?
Yes, obviously yes. Our bowling unit is one of the best in the world in our conditions, and obviously, Jason, Kimar, Shannon, Azari, and Jimbo are more than capable of taking 20 wickets. It didn't happen in the last game, and such is the nature of the game sometimes. It doesn't happen. We drop a few crucial chances as well. So things could have been different, and we back the bowlers to get 20 wickets any day.
All right, well, all the best in the next test.
Thank you, Lennox.
Well, we've got the company today of Alex Jordan, journalist and, well, I suppose we can say cricket commentator as well. Welcome to Anything Cricket Let's Talk, Alex. So, we've also got Ayana Holder here today. Ayana?
Hi, Ayana.
Hi, Alice. Yes, Philip, Alice is good company. I met her a couple of years ago. We were on our way to the same gig. We've been told about each other, but didn't quite know the person. I hadn't seen Alex for a long time. And sometimes when you see these personalities, you think it's the person, but you don't want to go ask and it's someone else. But anyways, I built the courage to go to her and tell her, well, I was told I may see Alex Jordan. She's on this gig. I'm Ayana, the scorer. She was like, oh yes, the producer told me, nice to meet you. And conversation just flowed from there. And we had a pretty good time in those 2 weeks.
Yes, we did.
Is good company.
Good, dear. Thanks, Ayana. We had a great time. Lots of fun, good connection, very easily.
So, Alex, of course, a name that is familiar to those who, follow the media, and even your involvement in cricket, where, especially in the T20 format, where you're well known for your interviews around the boundary. But now you have stepped a little bit closer, if you may, I wouldn't say to the action, because when you're on the boundary, you're actually closer to the cricket action. But now you become
That's
now
true.
the expert now in the commentary box. So how has that been going?
Well, let me clarify that I am not the expert in the commentary box. I am what you call the lead, and I will have an expert beside me. So, I mean, what an experience. I know for people who know me well and also know cricket well, they will know that this has been a real jump in at the deep end for me, having not done much commentary and also having never played the game before. So I am really there in my capacity as a broadcaster and a communicator. And I'll tell you something, Philip, it's my first test match. And the difference in my knowledge and my awareness from day 1 to day 5 was exceptional. So maybe some fans around the region weren't happy it went 5 days and would like to have seen it knocked off earlier. But the 5 days suited me just perfectly.
Okay, so you got your feet wet, so to speak, and
yeah,
is it something that you would want to keep doing?
Oh, I mean, what an honor and a privilege. I mean, as much as I didn't play cricket, of course, I grew up with cricket in both veins. My father is Barbadian, my mother is Australian. So, when I grew up, both of those teams were, I grew up in a time when these didn't lose, and we went to the cricket all the time. But then, a little later on, of course, Australia was so dominant. So I have always been around the game and understood the game and loved the game. But this is, cricket is so multi-layered and such a deep and complicated sport that, it's all humility. I go in with deep humility. When there are situations in the game where some expert who has not only played but led the West Indies, etc., saying, what happens at this stage? You know that you can only have humility when approaching this game, I'm not sure if I answered your question. I might have gone off on a tangent there.
No problem if you've gone off on a tangent. I know Ayana is burning to ask you a couple of questions as well.
Hit me.
Yeah, this is probably your second gig in the COVID bubble world. How was the experience in Abu Dhabi for the T10 and then like going there and then coming back and where you are now in Antigua? How has that experience been?
Well, it's actually my third bubble because y'all will remember that CPL was the first bubble.
Yeah,
like we
yeah,
did it last year, and that was in Abu Dhabi, and then here I am. Yeah, it was well, what an experience in Abu Dhabi on the whole. But of course, the traveling experience was even more bizarre in this time of COVID because while we were all at the Abu Dhabi T10, the protocols changed out of the UK, and everybody out of Barbados would have been flying through the UK, so our flights were cancelled. And I heard stories of Naeem Young and Fidel Edwards getting stuck in Turkey trying to get home on a new route. It was bareback now, but luckily for me, I have an Australian passport as well. So what I did was I went through New York, and you don't need a visa. You have something a little easier to get through New York to find my way home, and then came home to Barbados and had to quarantine again. The quarantine in Abu Dhabi wasn't so bad because the digs were very fancy, food was outstanding, and I was very comfortable. When I got home to Barbados, of course, I was so excited to be home. I wanted to go and see my family and tell everybody about everything. But then, of course, 5/6 days in a hotel room again while I got the test done. I think I'm getting better at bubbles, and I think I'm getting better at life and discipline. So I am very disciplined with myself during when I have to be in these quarantines, and I do a yoga practice, and I try to not eat too much rubbish, and I try to sleep at night and be awake in the day and keep yourself in some routine. So I'm well, and I'm so grateful to be working. So I would never complain.
Yeah. How has it transitioned from the shorter format of the game, the T20 and the T10, compared to your experience in Test cricket so far?
Boy, it's true what the purists say. Test cricket is the real game. So I think I have a lot of humility. I think back and think, gosh, you really didn't understand. So for example, one of my real observations, because I play racket sports, and the whole time I've been watching cricket in my life, I really watch the batsman. I'm obsessed with the batsman, his or her reactions, how they play the ball, etc. But actually having had the experience of the test match and recognizing how much more deep and multi-layered this game is I realize it's really the bowler who initiates all the action, right? And who tells the tale. So the difference is so far between. And I can sort of understand how old stalwarts who grew up with the test game can't manage the real shortened form of the game. I just feel like, wow, there's so much more to enjoy now. And of course, this test match cricket deeply informs my understanding of the shorter version of the game.
You mentioned your racket sport. Can you tell us about you, the squash player, and even the golfer?
Yeah, well, I grew up in a sporting family. We all were sporting. Our father and mother both played sports at a decent level. So we used to do all sorts of things as youngsters. I was a junior swimmer for Barbados, a junior golfer for Barbados. We played everything, I played table tennis for my school, tennis for my school. I was in everything, but I was never great at anything. And then just before I went off to university, I started squash. And I went to McGill University at a time when Canada was a real world force in squash. So I had good luck. I made the team as a reserve and worked my way down to number 3 and played for McGill. So developed a real love for squash. And of course, when I was going home in those holidays, then I was catching the eye of the national team and made the national team and played many years on that team. And that has been fantastic. I love the sport. And of course, I love competition. So squash is really my main sport, but anybody who follows me on social media will know I'm an avid golfer, although a very poor one. I enjoy it to the max. And now, of course, I'm obsessed with cricket, and I've promised myself I'm going to learn to play. Because in a lot of ways, the golf swing, the squash swing, any tennis swing or whatever, and the cricket shot have back swing, have everything in common. For example, in a golf swing, when you're bringing the club through, the first action is off to mid-off before you finish the swing. And that was always the reference my father gave me. You're not swinging out to mid-off, you know? So now when I watch the cricket, all of those things help inform my understanding of it.
You know, I think I would have first heard of you from No, but seriously, I'm going to share something quickly. My grandmother, she's passed now, may she rest in peace. She used to listen to you on Saw at 7:15. She would switch when the program is over. She wasn't really into the modern music, you know, so she would go back to her station. And then at 8:35, she's back there for What Drives You Crazy. And she did that every morning for those 2 shows. So yeah, I just remembered it, and I needed to share that with
well,
you.
bless your granny in heaven. And how interesting. That says a lot about it. You should probably inform the viewers that what Ayana's referencing is a radio show called the Alex Jordan Morning Show on a station in Barbados called Slam 101.1 FM. That's really and truly how Barbados got to know me more intimately. I come out of radio, I come out of music before sport in terms of my work. So yeah, we had 2 call-in sections of the show, No, but seriously, and What Drives You Crazy, which clearly Ayana's grandma liked. I'm very chuffed. Glad to hear that.
Well, as I'm going to take you back just a bit, because you mentioned 2 magic words there, and I can't let you go on without saying a little bit more. When you said table tennis, you're talking to me directly. So tell us a little bit about that table tennis experience.
Well, you know, thank you for asking, because we're playing a lot here at the hotel while we're here in Antigua, and everybody plays, all the players from both teams, myself, lots of people. And I just remember how much I love the game. I played at St. Gabriel's School in my primary school. And it just shows you how sport is so important for social development and how sport is a leveler. Because obviously when St. Gabriel's then went to other schools to play, I would see life in other schools. And I was in a private primary school, and we were going to government primary schools. And I'm the only girl on the team. and of course a red-skinned girl, which of course was strange in a government school. When I went there, I remember whoever would have to play, the person would get so much pressure from his teammates because it was like, I don't want you to let that girl beat you. I thought, listen, I don't want to see that girl beat you at all. But I had some nice soft hands, man. And if you ask Rayvon Griffith, the Guyanese cricket coach, well, he's the West Indies assistant coach, he will tell you that I have a lot of staying power. Actually, when we were in Antigua last time, Ayana, with the women, West Indies women versus India women, I played with Haley. And I beat Haley. I beat Haley only because she has one more shot to play. I ain't got no real weapons, you know, but I have a lot of determination.
You had any coaches at St. Gabriel's in those days?
We did. My mind escapes me, and of course, my brother and sister were. My brother was very good too. He played for Harrison College, and I would go with him to Rick's on the weekend, and should be able to tell you all the names. But I was such a little girl; they escaped me.
Yeah, well, I remember there was Roladi who was coach here for a while, and probably one or two other coaches. So you certainly would have been in some pretty.
Yeah, I came way before Kabibi Mosley.
Okay, yes, Kabibi Mosley. She was probably the best female player Barbados would have produced over the years, and one of the best female players in the English-speaking Caribbean for sure.
Yeah,
she certainly served Barbados table tennis quite well, and I understand too that she was also a multi-talented person in terms of various sports. So apart from squash, table tennis, and golf, what other sports do you fancy?
Well, I want to talk about something.
I mean, in terms of a player, we know you love cricket, but in terms of playing.
In terms of playing, well, I mean, I can play almost anything. I'm not very good at throwing, I have realized over the years. So I leave out those kind of sports. But I want to tell you about something I do, which is very important to my sporting life, which is called the bowspring. It's a kind of yoga. It's a mind-body practice. And I practice an hour a day. And it's incredibly important to me. So it is sort of stretching through strengthening, finding the most optimal alignment of the spine. And it has taught me more about using the big muscles, right? And I feel like this is true across all sports and cricket too, because I look at men on the field and say, I can see what's going on there. It is, there's being athletic and there's understand and being fit, and then there's knowing the body, understanding how the body works, and doing that practice really helps me, the bowspring. So essentially, I feel like I can play anything. Do I play anything else other than that? I can play some badminton. I'm not bad at volleyball. I used to play netball at Queen's College as well, but goal attack wasn't nothing to write home about.
You would have spent some time after the Barbados state, or between your Barbados states working in Barbados. You would have spent some time in other parts of the Caribbean, practicing your media stuff. Tell us about that.
Yes, I spent 4.5, almost 5 years in Kingston, Jamaica, working for Sports Max, which was where I went after I left the Alex Jordan morning show. And it was extraordinary. I'm already a Caribbean person, a CARICOM woman. Thankfully, with those early sporting experiences in my life, I traveled. I went to swim meets in Trinidad as a little eight-year-old. First time I left my mother. I'd been to St. Lucia to do the same. And then, of course, with squash, I'd played in Guyana. I'd played in all over the region. So, and in junior golf as well. You make friends across the region. So I'd always felt like I knew the region very well. And I identify to people as a Caribbean person. But then living in Jamaica, see me come live with me, two different things. Living in Jamaica was a whole next nother experience, which was just so fantastic. Jamaica, of course, being a mecca of music that I love and sport that I love. And of course, the mighty patois, wonderful language that I love. So it was a kind of haven for me. I was in Kingston, the capital city. Sports Max was very close to where I lived. I played squash at the Ligony Club, that was very close. And I played golf at two different clubs, Constant Spring and Caymanas, which were also fairly close. So I enjoyed Jamaica very much. Of course, it's massive. Do you know that Barbados can fit into Jamaica geographically? Something like 52 times. Jamaica big. So we did a lot of journeys on the weekends, went north, went far to Negril and all places. Went in the mountains. I love the rivers in Jamaica because we don't have them in Barbados. Just a quick note to all of my regional people: the more of the Caribbean you can see, the better. It's such a joy.
So you are based back home now, so to speak, in Barbados, and you maybe go out and venture out if you have an international gig. So you're involved in this test series between Sri Lanka and the West Indies. In terms of the actual cricket, though, how do you see it? How have you found the cricket so far? And maybe you may want to venture to guess the outcome. Certainly, West Indies have dominated the two formats played already, the one day internationals and the T20. The test series is still level. What are your expectations?
Yeah, well, this certainly turned out to be a more even contest than the limited over series, as you said, that went before. I always want to preface my opinions by saying I never play cricket. I ain't an expert. So I'm telling you from my own sense and my own feeling of the game and as a fan. It was the first innings we saw, well, Sri Lanka bowled out for 169 and we felt good about it. But even then I was aware that our attack, it was really, Kimar Roach and Jason Holder who did the bulk of that work. And, for a long time, between Gabriel, Cornwall, and Alzari Joseph, there was only one wicket. So there were always some question marks over the bowling attack from the first innings. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. I think that there may have been a tendency to feel a little anxious as a West Indies fan because what we saw in Bangladesh, we knew to be unusual. These were inexperienced players getting the shot at the highest level and, managing to win this extraordinary series. And we thought there might be some exposure of, back down to reality here. But I think we saw lots of things we could feel really good about. Some good, not necessarily from we thought. Raheem Cornwall's not so important in keeping us going in that first innings. And I think, well, it was interesting to see. I think it was brilliant that we managed to hold on the fifth day and bring the draw. Big respect to Nkrumah Bonner, who played such a fantastic knock and got his maiden century. I think we have good signs. We have new players. We have a big bag of players to choose from, more players than we had previously. And we're seeing standouts from different men. So that's great. The second test is all to play for.
So what next then for Alex Jordan?
Well, now that I taste a little bit of the commentary box and I feel a little more at ease, I think the second test, it will be really interesting to see how I feel if I have a little more fluidity with it. I would love to do more of this. Of course, I love the sport. And we have a lot of cricket coming to the Caribbean this year. I am hopefully going with Sportsmax to Japan to the Olympics. Should the Olympics go ahead, you know that we have to talk about these things quite fluidly because in the time of COVID, we don't know exactly what that looks like yet, but I'm scheduled to go to Japan later this summer for the Olympics. And then I hope, of course, to be involved in my beloved CPL. Cricket Play Louder is the biggest party in sport.
And I'm sure that party environment is as much your cup of tea as table tennis is mine.
Yes, you're quite right there.
Yes. Well, Alex, it really has been nice chatting with you and having you share some of your experiences. And what I can say on behalf of Ayana and Wayne Holder, who's not with us for this episode, is that we certainly wouldn't want you to be a stranger on anything cricket. Let's talk.
Well, listen to me. I have to say before I go here that I would never be a stranger. I owe Ayana Holder a lot, not just for her friendship and her support, but for her knowledge that she shares so freely with me. She's unique and should be admired because it's not necessarily a woman's place. A lot of the time, people feel, and she knows the game so well. Of course, an umpire. I mean, who knows the game better than them? And I lean on her all the time. Anytime.
Okay, I kind of missed what you said just now. After you said something about her being an umpire.
Yes, I said, well, she's an umpire, isn't she? And who knows the game better than umpires? And
Yeah.
I want to say that I have leaned on her and benefited from her knowledge and experience with the game. So I need to big her up. And of course, as a result, anytime, anything you'll need, anytime.
It's all good, Alex. Anytime.
Okay, Alex Jordan, pleasure talking to you. Thanks for joining
In
us
every
on
aspect.
Thinking Cricket. Let's talk. That's our show. Thanks for watching. Do remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook. Join us again soon for another episode of Anything Cricket. Let's talk.